Hello students! Welcome to English class. I am teacher Kate and today we will learn about the voice of the verb. Did you ever realize that a verb has a voice? Sounds a little confusing. But don't worry, I will teach you what the voice of the verb is all about. Are you ready? Let's get started. Before we start our lesson, here is our learning objectives. At the end of the lesson, the students are expected to identify the voice of the verb, convert the voice of the verb from active to passive, and vice versa. So, what is really the voice of the verb? Basically, the voice of the verb has two types, active and passive voice. Let's start with the active voice. The voice of the verb is active when the subject in the sentence performs the action, while the object receives the action.
Example: Lillian washes the dishes after dinner. In this sentence, the subject, Lillian, does the action, washes, and the object, dishes, receives the action. There are some few things we have to remember about active voice. Active voice is usually the normal form of a sentence. We commonly use active voice in daily conversations. Active voice is simpler than passive voice. Active voice follows the pattern, subject or the doer of the action, followed by the verb, and the object, which is the receiver of the action. Let's take a look at another example. My mother ironed my clothes. In this sentence, the subject is my mother, followed by the verb, ironed, and the object or the receiver of the action is my clothes. Let us have some more sentences. Sue changed the flat tire. The doctor operated the patient for 12 hours. The hunter killed the lion. All of these sentences are in active voice. So students, always remember that active voice is following the pattern, subject, or the doer of the action, the verb, and the object, or the receiver of the action.
So, did you understand the active voice now? Easy, right? Let's proceed to passive voice. The voice of the verb is passive when the subject is acted upon by the object of the verb or receives the action of the verb. In changing the sentence from active to passive voice or vice versa, here are the following rules to be followed. Rule number 1. The place of the subject and the object will be interchanged in the sentence.
Example: My mother ironed my clothes. This sentence is an active voice. My mother is the doer of the action ironed, and my clothes is the receiver of the action. So how do we transform this into passive voice? My clothes were ironed by my mother. In this sentence, my clothes is the receiver of the action ironed, and at the same time, it is also the subject of the sentence. My mother, who is the doer of the action ironed, is now found at the end of the sentence. As what I've mentioned earlier, active voice follows the pattern subject, verb, and object. However, in passive voice, the position of the subject and the object are being interchanged in the sentence. Let's take a look at another example. Hazel tells many stories. This sentence is also in active voice. Who do you think is the doer of the action? Very good! It's Hazel. And the receiver or the object of the sentence is? Correct! Stories. So how do we change this sentence into passive? Many stories were told by Hazel. Very good! Now let's try to have active sentences and transform it into passive sentences. My sister borrowed my pen is an active voice. Can you change it into passive voice? Very good. My pen was borrowed by my sister. Let's have another one. Sue changed the flat tire. How do you change this into passive voice? Excellent! The flat tire was changed by Sue. And the last one, Tom painted the entire house. Good job! The entire house was painted by Tom.
Rule number 2. Other words such as with or to may also be used instead of the word by, depending on the subject of the sentence.
Examples. I know him is an active voice. He is known to me is a passive voice. Water fills a tub is an active voice. A tub is filled with water is a passive voice.
Great job, students! Seems like you have already mastered our lesson for today. I think it's time for us to have a short quiz. Are you ready?
And for your short quiz, all you have to do is identify whether the voice of the verb is active or passive. Let's start. Raisin presents an interesting report. Very good. The sentence is an active voice. Next, the train was missed by the passengers. Great! The sentence is in passive voice. Number 3, the town was destroyed by the fire. Awesome! The sentence is in passive voice. Number 4, Feline sent me a message. Very good! The sentence is in active voice. And the last one, the project was passed by Team A. Great! The sentence is in passive voice. Seems like the short quiz is just a piece of cake for you. Let's try a little challenging one. I will show you a picture and your job is to create an active and passive voice sentences out of this picture. Let us have picture number 1. Can you give me an active voice sentence out of this picture? Very good! The people are wearing masks. That is an active voice. What about a passive voice? Excellent! Masks are worn by people. That is in passive voice. Let us proceed to picture number 2. What passive sentence can you make out of this picture? Very good. The ball was kicked by the boy. That is a passive sentence. Can you transform it into an active voice sentence? Very nice. The boy kicks the ball. That is an active voice. Let us have the last picture. Give me an active voice sentence that you can make out of this picture. Very good. The bird builds its nest. That is an active voice. What about transform that sentence into a passive voice? Great job! The nest was built by the bird. That is a passive voice.
Now that we have finished our lesson, I can really tell that you can now distinguish the difference between active and passive voice. Do you have any questions and clarifications? None? Great! And that ends our lesson for today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon in